I'm Suzie Gallehugh. I am an adjunct professor in the fashion department at Austin Community College. On this episode of ACC Experts, I'm going to show you how to do various repairs on garments without using a sewing machine. All you'll need is a thread to match your garment, scissors, and a needle. So let's get started. So I have a vintage coat that I bought, and the hem is coming out in two different places. You can see it's coming out here on the body of the garment and also in the lining. First thing is I get my thread, and what I usually like to do before I start sewing is sewing the thread through the needle is I'll like clip the thread to make sure that it's really smooth and it goes through the needle easily. And then I thread my thread through the needle and I just pull it through so that I have enough and clip it at the bottom. And then I'm going to tie a knot at the end of the thread. Then I'm ready to start hemming. So for this type of hem, we're going to do what's called a blind stitch, and it's really going to be so you won't, once it's hemmed, it's going to hold this hem on there, but you're not going to see the hem, any stitching from the outside. So I basically I'm gonna run my needle through on this seam allowance right here in the coat, and I'm just gonna run it through twice, and that's pretty much gonna hold the thread, give an additional support beyond just the knot. So I just keep going back and forth, grabbing the hem part and the garment part. And then this original hem is still holding this. What I'll do is like run my needle through this turned over hem part a few times, and then I knot it. And I put my finger on top of the knot and then pull it through, and it just makes the knot form really close to the fabric. And then I get my scissors and just trim it off. And so you can see now that the hem, this is holding in, it's all sewn in, it's finished, and you can't see it on the right side. I also have this section of the lining hem that came out, and this one you have to be a lot more precise with the hem because it's a much thinner fabric. And what I'm gonna do is a blind stitch. I've knotted the thread, I've threaded my needle, knotted the thread, so I'm just gonna run this through the hem portion just twice. And then what I'm gonna do is on the actual lining portion, I'm gonna just grab like 1 or 2 threads from the fabric, just a very, very small amount. And I'm gonna pull my thread through, and then I can grab through more of this folded over section. The reason I'm only grabbing like 1 or 2 threads on the outside section is because this is the part of the garment that you can see. I don't want my knot to show on the outside, so I'll just loop the thread back under, and then I'll tie a knot the same way. And clip it, and then you can see that you see a few little like marks, but it's not like a outright hem. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to sew on a button. I have a denim shirt here, and the last button has fallen off. I need to stitch this back on. So I'm basically going to just start by threading my needle again. And I'm probably just going to double this knot just to make sure it's a little bit thicker. Sometimes if you only tie a single knot, the knot will pull through the fabric, and especially this already has like little holes here where the original thread was sewn, and I can see that there's like an opening there, so it looks like it might pull through. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start on the back side, and I'm gonna put my needle through, and there we've got it. It's not pulling through, so that's good. So basically like put the the thread through the first buttonhole, and then I loop it through the second buttonhole, and I place my needle back in through the garment very close to where I put the original thread. And then I'm gonna pull this through. I have a little T-pin here that I will insert right here in between the two threads, because we want the button to have like a little wiggle room. And then I just basically do the same process over again. I go through the original buttonhole and then through the other buttonhole and come back down. And I'm probably gonna do this about 4 or 5 times. Okay, and so once I've done it like 4 or 5 times, I can take this T-pin out. At this point, I'm gonna go put my thread back in, and I'm gonna wrap my thread around it. And what this does is like creates like a little, what we call shank for the button. And after I've wrapped it around a few times, insert my thread back through here and then pull it down. And then on the back side, what I can do is just knot this and then pull that so that the knot forms like really close to the fabric. And then if I want to have some extra security, I'll just run my needle through here like one more time, and then I'll just clip this. And there, we're done. We have a button. My last thing I'm going to show you here is how to fix a seam where the stitching has come out. So I have a pillowcase. It's an old pillowcase. I've got a little section here where the stitching came out of the seam. So what I need to do to fix this is turn this inside out where you can see the original seam was sewn. And what I'm gonna do is like go through this and like hand stitch it right along the original seam. This type of stitch can also be applied to garments. So I'm using this on a pillowcase, but you might have a garment where the stitching has come out, like maybe on the side seam of a shirt or on a dress or a skirt. So I'm just tying my knot at the end. I'm gonna double knot here. Pull this really taut. I'm gonna run my needle through once. This is called a running stitch. So I'm basically gonna go back over and under, over and under. So I run my needle through over and under a few times, and then I just pull the thread through. I've got it done there, so you can see this side and this side. Now, this is not exactly perfect. On this side, it's kind of come down a little bit from the original seam line, but that's okay. So I've got that done, so I'm just gonna tie a knot here. It's done. It's just like a basic running stitch, and that's gonna hold it. It's stitched shut. Thanks so much for watching this episode of ACC Experts, and I hope you learned how to do some basic repairs on your clothing. If you'd like to learn more about our department, please visit austincc.edu/fashion. And thanks so much for watching.